You want peace? Then stop handing out free access to your emotional thermostat. The truth is, most of us aren't tired, we're drained. And we're not drained because life is hard. We're drained because we react to everything. Every comment, every look, every little thing that doesn't go our way. Like puppets on a string, we dance to every tug. Someone cuts us off in traffic rage. Someone disagrees with us. Defense mode. Someone gives us silence. We spiral. That's not control, that's chaos disguised as normal. Here's the wake-up call. You will never master your life until you master your reactions. You want to be powerful? Train yourself to stay calm when you have every reason to snap. That's real strength. Not the loudest one in the room, not the clapback champion, but the one who can sit in stillness, hear the noise and refuse to let it rent space in their head. That's the level we're aiming for. Because being unbothered isn't passive, it's tactical, it's a skill, and it's time you trained like your peace depends on it, because it does. You want to change your life. Start here. Stop reacting to everything. That's it. Sounds too simple? Good. Because it is simple. It's just not easy. Every time you let someone else's words, energy, or attitude dictate your state of mind, you hand them your power on a silver platter. That's what most people do, every single day. A driver cuts them off. They explode. A coworker throws shade. They spiral. A friend disappoints them. They carry it around like emotional luggage. It's reaction after reaction, like a knee-jerk reflex. And it's killing your peace, one response at a time. Here's the truth. You don't need to react to everything. In fact, the more you react, the less you control. Your emotions become a playground for every outside trigger that comes along. That's not power. That's slavery to circumstance. If the vibe of your day can be hijacked by a rude message, a passive-aggressive comment, or some random drama, then you're not in control. You're in survival mode. In survival mode. In survival mode isn't a mindset, it's a trap. You've got to understand the cost of constant reaction. It drains you. It distracts you. It derails your focus. Every time you get pulled into something reactive, you burn mental energy that could have gone into building something: your career, your health, your purpose, your peace. Instead, you're locked into battles that don't matter, arguments that solve nothing, and feelings that were never yours to carry. How many times have you sat in your room at night, replaying something someone said, crafting the perfect comeback you'll never use? That's a life lived in reaction, and you weren't built for that. Control isn't about bottling things up, or pretending things don't bother you. It's about training your nervous system not to flinch at every emotional poke. It's about noticing the trigger and choosing not to dance with it. That's where real growth happens. It happens in the pause, the moment between the stimulus and your response. That's your battlefield. That's where the old you wants to fire back, get revenge, throw shade, or spiral into self-doubt. But the new you, the disciplined you pause, you breathe, you choose differently. You don't owe anyone your energy just because they disrupted your day. That's the trap. That's the bait. Don't take it. People who lack control will always try to provoke you, because your reaction feeds their need for power. It validates their chaos. But when you don't give them what they're looking for, when you stay composed, when you don't flinch, when you look at the nonsense and choose peace over pettiness, you win. Not just in that moment, you win at life. Because now you're operating from power, not impulse. Let's get real. Control is not just a mindset, it's a practice. It's a muscle. You train it, you mess up, then you try again. You stay quiet when you could go off. You let that text sit on read instead of matching the drama. You walk away from the heat instead of stepping into the fire. And over time, you build that muscle. You start to realize that peace is stronger than rage, that clarity is louder than noise, and that you don't need to react to prove a point. Because here's the thing, when you're really in control, you don't need to prove anything. You know who you are. You know your value, and you know that your response isn't about them, it's about you. It's about your discipline, your self-respect, your future. You've got goals that can't afford to be sidetracked by every opinion, every jab, every test. You've got a mission, and every time you choose calm over chaos, focus over frenzy, poise over panic, you move closer to the life you actually want. So no, this isn't about being passive, this is about being precise. It's not about letting people walk all over you, it's about not letting them live rent-free in your head. You're not suppressing your power, you're sharpening it. And when you get to that place where your mood is no longer a reaction to someone else's behavior, that's not just control. That's freedom. That's self-mastery. That's how you win the war without ever picking up a weapon. And that kind of strength, that changes everything. Let's get something straight, not everything deserves your energy. You are not a dumping ground for every opinion, every insult, every bit of chaos that shows up in your life. Your mind is not public property. Your peace is not a group discussion. You have to learn the discipline of selective focus. Just because something enters your space doesn't mean it needs to enter your spirit. Most people live in reaction mode because they haven't learned how to filter what matters. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels personal. Every rude comment, every bit of gossip, every backhanded compliment, it all gets in. And they carry it. They carry it in their face, in their tone, in their sleep, in their stress. You can't build a calm life on a mind full of clutter. So you've got to start asking yourself, is this worth my energy or is this just noise? There's a reason you feel overwhelmed, exhausted, or frustrated even when nothing major is happening. It's the little leaks. It's the way you let petty arguments steal your time. It's how you let someone's mood dictate your mood. It's the hours lost replaying conversations that should have lasted seconds. You're not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired because you're giving too much of yourself to the wrong things. You want power, learn the art of disengagement. Everything doesn't need your opinion. Everything doesn't deserve a response. You don't need to defend yourself every time someone misunderstands you. Let them. You don't need to clap back just because someone's trying to get a rise out of you. Let them talk. You don't need to prove your worth in spaces that already made up their mind about you. Let them think what they want. You have nothing to prove and everything to protect. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to stay quiet. You are allowed to not participate. You don't need to explain your silence, your peace, your focus. The moment you stop trying to manage every perception and start protecting your energy, you level up. Not in noise but in discipline, not in control over others but in control over yourself. And let's be clear, this is not about arrogance, this is about alignment. You're aligning your focus with your future, you're aligning your time with your priorities, you're aligning your reactions with your value. There's a cost to every distraction, and when you say yes to nonsense, you say no to growth. So ask yourself, what am I trading my energy for? Every time you get sucked into gossip, pettiness, or drama, you're paying a toll. And the worst part, you can't even write that time off. That's your life you're spending on things that don't move the needle. It's one thing to fight battles that matter, it's another thing to swing at every mosquito with the same force as a real threat. You've got to know the difference. That's wisdom, that's maturity, there's no trophy for responding to everything. There's no prize for being emotionally available to every piece of chaos that knocks at your door. You've got to guard your mental space like it's sacred, because it is. Not everyone gets a seat at your table, not every voice deserves a reply. Not every conflict deserves your entrance. Some things you win by walking away. Some things you conquer by staying unshaken. Some things you rise above by refusing to shrink down to their level. People will test you, they'll try to pull you into they'll poke at your buttons just to see if you'll react. And when you don't, when you stay grounded, when you let their chaos bounce off your peace, that's when you become untouchable, not because life stopped being messy, but because you stopped giving it permission to control you. So the next time something tries to steal your peace, pause and ask, is this worth it? Is this helping me grow? Is this aligned with who I'm becoming? And if the answer is no, let it go, not with bitterness, not with just with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their energy is too valuable to waste. You don't owe the world a reaction, you owe yourself protection. Choose wisely. Peace isn't something you stumble into, it's not luck, it's a decision, a daily, deliberate decision to stop participating in things that rob you of your clarity. You don't wait for life to get quiet so you can feel calm, you train yourself to be calm while life is loud. That's the difference between people who have peace and people who are constantly chasing it. One waits for it to happen, the other builds it. Most people confuse peace with the absence of problems. I'll feel good when this is over. I'll be calm when I'll be okay once everything settles down. That mindset keeps you hostage to your circumstances. Because guess what? Life doesn't settle. People don't always behave. Challenges don't wait their turn. Peace doesn't show up when the world calms down, it shows up when you calm down, regardless of the world. You don't just get peace handed to you one morning like a gift basket. You build it through boundaries. You build it through discipline. You build it by saying no when it's easier to say yes just to avoid conflict. You build it by leaving that conversation before it turns toxic, by walking away from the noise instead of trying to win it over. Peace is not passive, it's protection. You either protect it or you watch it get hijacked by everything and everyone around you. Look at your life and ask yourself, how much of your stress is self-inflicted? How much of your chaos is a result of you not drawing the line? You answer the call you shouldn't. You join the argument you should have ignored. You go to the place that drains you. You try to fix people who don't want to be fixed. And then you wonder why you're exhausted. You don't need more sleep. You need fewer leaks. When you decide to build peace, you start cutting off the silent thieves in your life, the overthinking, the people-pleasing, the fake urgency, the constant scrolling, the need to always be involved. All of it gone. You replace it with stillness, with clarity, with decisions made from alignment, not adrenaline. It's not easy, but you weren't built for easy. You were built for real. In real, peace is quiet. It's boring. It's uneventful. That's why most people sabotage it. They're addicted to chaos. They don't know who they are without the next crisis to fix, the next drama to unpack, the next apology to give or demand. But when you start to heal, when you start to value your space, when you start to train your mind to be still in the middle of noise, everything changes. You no longer chase validation. You no longer seek revenge. You no longer feel the urge to explain yourself to everyone. That's not weakness. That's maturity in its rawest form. This isn't about being untouchable, it's about being unshakable. You still feel everything, you just don't feed everything. You still care, but you don't carry. You still listen, but you don't absorb. You don't let everything sink into your spirit. That's the discipline. That's the training. Every day you make the decision, I'm going to protect my peace. Not just by avoiding problems, but by managing your presence, by deciding who gets access, by choosing your environment with surgical precision. Because peace isn't about escape. It's not about moving to a cabin in the woods, or cutting off everyone and living in isolation. Peace is about being in the chaos and not letting it get in you. It's about being in the storm but choosing not to become the storm. It's about being surrounded by fire and deciding you're not going to burn. You train for that, you work for that, you earn that. So today, make the choice. Don't just want peace, build it, protect it, guard it like it's the foundation of your life, because it is. Everything you want, clarity, purpose, success, connection, it grows from peace. Without it you're reacting, with it you're creating. That's the shift, that's the edge. And that's where you win, not when life is easy, but when you become untouchable in the middle of it all. Your reaction tells the world exactly where you are in your growth. It's not about the moment, it's about the mirror. Because every time someone disrespects you, pushes your buttons, tests your patience, and you feel that fire rising up in your chest, you've just been handed a choice. That choice will either build your power or drain. And the way you respond is the difference between operating from your strength or surrendering it. Let's be clear, your response is not about them, it's about you. It's a direct reflection of what you've mastered and what still owns you. When someone throws shade and you go silent instead of swinging back, that's strength. When someone's energy is chaotic and you don't match it, that's strength. When you could drag someone, clap back, argue your point, tear them apart with facts, but you choose not to, that's not weakness. That's next level composure. That's restraint. And restraint is what separates people who talk power from people who live it. Most people confuse reaction with confidence. They think quick comebacks make them sharp. They think blowing up proves they won't be disrespected. But the loud reactions are often the cover for a lack of control. Anyone can pop off. Anyone can throw a tantrum, go on a rant, or try to dominate a conversation. That's not hard. What's hard is being calm in the face of chaos. What's hard is responding with precision, not emotion. What's hard is knowing you could but deciding you won't, because that's where the power is. It's not in the noise, it's in the pause, the breath you take before saying something you'll regret, the step back you take before entering a situation that's beneath your purpose. The silence you hold when you know speaking would only satisfy your ego, not serve your growth. That's the battle, that's the training, and every time you choose self-control you win. But let's not pretend it's easy. Growth never is. It takes intention to not snap back. It takes inner work to stay steady when someone's trying to provoke you. It takes confidence to not chase validation through confrontation. But the reward, that's everything. You become untouchable.
not because the world stopped coming at you, but because you stopped letting it influence you. You
stopped being emotionally available to every piece of nonsense.
You stopped lowering your energy to match the mess. And suddenly you have more focus, more clarity, more freedom. You've got to stop giving your power away in pieces.
Every time you respond, just to prove your point, every time you lose your cool over things that won't matter in a week, every time you let your emotions run wild instead of choosing direction, you're paying a price. And the cost is your peace, your energy, your momentum. You can't afford that anymore. You've got too much purpose in front of you to keep bleeding power behind you. So what do you do instead? You train your nervous system to sit with discomfort. You train your mind to not need the last word. You train your spirit to know that peace isn't the absence of conflict, it's the control over your reaction to it. And every time you stay grounded, even when someone else is losing their mind, you're telling the world, I'm not on that level anymore. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. That's the standard now, and here's the truth. They're watching. People notice. Your kids notice. Your coworkers notice. Your friends notice. The way you hold your composure, that's leadership. That's influence. That's character. Not because you dominate, but because you not because you overpower, but because you oversee. You've got a vision that's too big to keep getting pulled into every petty storm. So next time you're tested, remember your response is your signature. It says everything about who you are and where you're going. Don't write your story in rage. Don't carve your path in reaction. Respond with intention, or walk away with peace. Either way, you stay in control, because the real flex, it's not showing them what you can do, it's showing yourself what you won't do. Being unbothered doesn't mean you don't care. Don't get it twisted. It doesn't mean you're cold, numb, checked out, or emotionally unavailable. It means you've learned how to care smarter. It means you've stopped wasting energy on things that don't grow you, heal you, or move you forward. It means your love has direction, your focus has purpose, and your emotions have boundaries. You've matured past the phase where caring means constantly sacrificing yourself. See, people think that if you're not visibly upset, not loudly defending yourself, not emotionally engaged in every little situation, then you must not care. Wrong. You care deeply. You care about your peace. You care about your purpose. You care about your time, your growth, your mental space. You just stopped investing your emotions in everything that asks for it, and started protecting it for what truly deserves it. When you're unbothered, you're not heartless. You're strategic. You've learned that not every fire is yours to put out. Not every comment is yours to address. Not every conflict is yours to solve. You've stopped throwing yourself into emotional quicksand just to prove you're loyal, kind, or engaged. That's not caring. That's losing. That's self-neglect disguised as empathy. And at some point you looked in the mirror and said, I'm done bleeding for things that don't nourish me. You care, but you no longer carry. You've realized that you can love someone and still protect your boundaries. You can be understanding and still say no. You can be kind and still walk away. That's what people don't tell you. Being unbothered is a result of healing. It's what happens when you stop chasing external validation and start choosing internal alignment. When your sense of peace becomes non-negotiable, you stop handing it over just to keep someone else comfortable. It's not detachment, it's clarity. You're not emotionally dead, you're emotionally wise. You've seen what happens when you give your all to people who don't value it, when you fight for things that don't fit, when you drain yourself trying to fix what was never yours to fix. And now you move differently. You pause, you filter, you think before you react. In that stillness, that composure, that's not weakness, that's strength that's been earned through experience. People might not understand it. They might call it cold. They might say you've changed. And guess what? You have. You've evolved past the point where chaos excites you. Drama doesn't pull you in anymore. You've tasted peace, and now anything that threatens it has to go through a filter, and most of it doesn't make the cut. You're not here to entertain negativity just to prove you're in it. You're not here to constantly explain your worth. You're not here to show up to every emotional fire just because someone else is burning. You've got better things to build, like your future. And let's be real, it takes work to get here. It takes courage to disappoint people, so you don't disappoint yourself. It takes confidence to let things go without needing closure. It takes growth to realize that your silence is sometimes louder than any reaction you could give. That's what being unbothered really is. It's not about how loud you are. It's about how stable you are. It's about how well you protect your energy. It's about how willing you are to lose the approval of others to win back your own sanity. So yes, you care. You just care in a new way, in a way that honors your growth, in a way that doesn't drain you, in a way that prioritizes what's real and lets go of what's reactive. You still love deeply, but you don't chase. You still give generously, but not recklessly. You still show up, but only where you're valued. That's not ego. That's emotional intelligence. That's not being cold. That's being clear. This version of you,
the one who no longer jumps into every storm, who doesn't let every comment shake them, who doesn't need to match every vibe. That version is powerful, that version is peaceful, that version is unbothered. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring smarter. In that right there, that's the real win. You don't train to be unbothered so you can look tough, you train so you can live free, free from the chaos, free from the trigger, free from the exhausting loop of always reacting, always explaining, always proving. You train so that peace becomes your default, not your reward. You train because your purpose is too big to keep shrinking every time someone throws you off. And let's be real, this isn't just mindset work. This is life work. This is daily, hourly, breath by breath discipline. It's waking up and choosing calm over chaos, presence over pettiness, alignment over ego. It's saying, I'm not here to entertain nonsense. I'm here to build. I'm here to lead. I'm here to protect what actually matters. You are no longer reacting to every spark. You're becoming the one who carries fire without being consumed by it, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who knows their worth so deeply, they don't trade it for cheap attention or short-lived victory. That's what this journey is about, turning down the noise out there so you can finally hear what's going on in here, because the strongest version of you, they're not the loudest, they're not the most reactive, they're not the one constantly proving themselves. They're the one who moves with clarity, the one who protects their peace, the one who knows that being unbothered isn't the absence of emotion, it's the presence of power. And when you reach that point, when you've trained yourself to stay grounded, no matter what's happening around you, that's when you stop surviving and start leading. That's when you stop reacting and start rising. So keep showing up, keep building the version of you that doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, doesn't beg for peace, but creates it.